memorable encounters that mix things up, force you to improvise, and encourage you to deviate from your typical route. My complaints about this random event feature are just that I wish it was more frequent and I wish there were more types of events. I want to say I only got to see one of these every 4 or 5 runs, and the pool of encounter types is a bit too small if I'm already seeing plenty of repeats with that level of infrequency. Another world event that you can sometimes run into is an interdimensional vortex, which, while neat, isn't quite as cool as the name suggests. It's a tornado that sometimes appears hovering above a key location at the start of a run rather than appearing mid-run at random, and they function by buffing the enemies and bosses below. Additionally, entering these areas prompts 2 NPC invaders to pop up and attack you as well. So again, neat idea that breaks up the usual routine of a typical run, and I would have loved to see more of this type of thing. The biggest deviation that can change a run though is a shifting earth event. However, similar to the vortexes, instead of surprising the player mid-run, these are telegraphed ahead of time at the very start. Basically, you'll sometimes encounter a different version of the map, where one of the quadrants has been terraformed and remixed into a different environment. There are 4 in total, and they include a volcano zone, snowy mountain zone, scarlet rot swamp zone, and Noxtella city zone. So again, to be clear, 80% of the map is the same as usual, but part of the map is now this additional biome. Each of these is big and dense enough that in order to explore and complete them properly, you need to dedicate most of your day 2 time solely to the shifting earth location. Tackling them day 1 is usually completely off the table since these areas are tough and filled with plenty of higher level mini bosses. They each function kind of like legacy dungeons, and the first one, the volcano, is a great example of this. You essentially need to descend down the volcano layer by layer while dealing with various bosses along the way. If you make it to the end, you get a very worthwhile reward. I won't spoil what the rewards are, but each shifting earth has its own reward, and they're massive enough that you pretty much want to go after them every run if they're on your map. When you get a shifting earth event, it will remain on the map for several runs in a row, even if you reach the reward at the end. And as you go through the game for the first time, you'll encounter each of the 4 shifting earth events sequentially. I have some problems with how they decided to implement this whole system, especially within the context of them becoming incredibly infrequent after the credits roll, but overall, I think this is a very cool addition, and the shifting earth biomes are incredibly fun to figure out the first time you encounter each one. So yeah, that's basically how a run goes. You run around getting stronger for 2 days and defeat a variety of bosses along the way. If you manage to do that, all that's left is the final boss at the end, the Night Lord. As I mentioned earlier, there are 8 Night Lords in the game, and I think basically all of them are great fights. And more so than the Night 1 and Night 2 boss fights, the Night Lords feel designed from the ground up for co-op. The obvious example is the first Night Lord, Gladius the 3-headed dog. He not only has tons of sweeping attacks that can hit the entire group, he also splits into 3 separate dogs at multiple points during the fight. Dealing with 3 things at once feels pretty co-op to me. But what really won me over with these bosses is the design philosophy of mixing gimmicks into the fight alongside traditional attack and dodge gameplay. There are multiple moments where it feels like you're fighting an MMO raid boss, and I mean that in the best possible way. Libra is a great example. This guy will light your screen up with projectiles and shockwave attacks designed to target everyone at once. Not only that, but there are additional mechanics like needing to collect little madness pebbles off the ground while fighting to keep your madness meter down.